Hi there, welcome to a live match reaction on the This Is Ibrox network. I'm joined by three excellent podders today. We're going to discuss an absolute shambolic performance away at Pittodrie. I'll just introduce the podders. I would ask how you were doing, but I think I think we all know. But it's good to see you today, Jock.
How's it bad? Not too bad. How's it going yourself?
I don't know. I'd rather be anywhere than talking about that right now. But
Here we are.
It's part of it. We've got to take the lows with the highs. So, and Shug, nice to have you on today.
Yeah, it's been a wee while. I think I could have left it a little longer.
Yeah, and JB, I could hear you shouting at the TV all the way down in Liverpool for up here.
Yeah, no. When you said shambolic, I thought you were going to start with something else, but shambolic. It definitely began with SH anyway, but we'll get into it.
Yeah, listen, let's just get straight into it. My notes might be a wee bit positive for the first half, but we'll try and take the shine off of that, as I'm sure Rangers, as well as Rangers did today as well. But Jock, look, I'll come to you first, just in the starting lineup. Started with McGregor, Tav at right back, Suter, Ben Davies, Borna Barisic, Lundstrom and Raskin kind of in the sitting midfield role, and then we had Cantwell on the right, Tilman through the middle, and Fashion on the left, with Alfredo Morelos playing up front. Beale made quite a big deal pre-match about it being the sort of same starting 11. Were you happy that, or surprised that it was the same starting 11 that started against St Mirren last week?
Not really. I think he was always going to go with the starting 11 from last week, barring maybe changing Goldson if he was fit. Obviously, we're not going to risk Goldson too early when we need him for the big game next week. So if it was me, I would have done the same thing. I would have started the same team.
Yeah, and Shug, I'll throw that same question to you. He went on about it being quite important, especially. I know the bloody irony asking this now, but he said it was very important to have a settled back four. Something I'm sure we'll come on to a bit towards the end of the podcast as the back four and one man in particular who just looks to be absolutely short of confidence. But is it important to have consistency when we're starting games like this?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's gone down the route. It took Goldson and Davies a while to, well, not as long as it's taken Suter and Davies to form a partnership, but I mean, the back four's been not the greatest ever, and the only difference has been Goldson, so it's kind of worrying because it's the other four, including McGregor, are the same.
That's it. That's it exactly. Right, JB, we'll come to the sort of first action point of the game. Really, it was a very slow sort of 10 minutes. It was a slip in the middle of the park from Raskin. Rangers obviously all in blue, which you do like to see, but the pitch looked wet, windy. I suppose that wasn't exactly a shock being being up in the north and in Aberdeen, but Duke's through and goal when I actually felt this was a good bit of defending from Suter, who just put enough sort of weight and got himself in between the boy and the ball. So yeah, this was the sort of first talking point of the game, JB.
Yeah, and I know we've had some chat about Duke in the WhatsApp group over the last couple of weeks, saying would he be a good signing? I personally haven't seen a lot on his numbers. He's obviously produced decent numbers, but then I thought I think I was quite outspoken in terms of my view on him the other week. So when he was running through one-on-one, I thought, oh, there we go. But I thought Suter stood up quite well to the challenge. He's on a one-on-one defending basis. I think Suter is really strong, really looks really comfortable. But I like the first half. The first half I did have a bit of intensity, but second half, as I'm sure we're going to get to, it was just dropped off a massive cliff. But certainly no penalty, and as I say, yeah, not the best of starts really. You want to be going into these type of games and really pinning them back and kind of suffocating the crowd a wee bit, which I think we did do towards the end of the first half, but midway through the first half. But yeah, really slack start, to be fair.
Yeah, that's it exactly. It was poor to lose the ball. I suppose a bit unfortunate in terms of Raskin slipping, but I just wanted to point it out because the central defenders have been taken the last couple of weeks. I think you got to take the good with the bad, and I did. I felt this was a fairly decent challenge. Look, Jock, we'll come to you for the first big chance of the game for Rangers. It happened about a minute after that. Suter defending. It's a Tav cross into the back post. I thought this was maybe arguably, apart from the touch that we'll come on to talk about later on, Sakala's sort of only decent contribution to the game today. It was a very, very, very good header. Morelos, to have this sort of wherewithal, 2 touches, and at the end of the day, I thought it was a very good shot and a very good clearance off the line. But we've got to be scoring this, surely.
That's it. I think it's. I was looking sort of on the aftermath on Twitter of this and looking at there was a stat put out there that 40% of our shots on target or don't go in. So we need to get that ratio up. We need to start, goals win games. If we start off, we get an early goal there after their chance, takes the wins out of their sails, takes the stuffing out the crowd. You build on that. We saw that last week, or the week before, sorry. So I guess one of those ones, we need to be taking these chances. Simple as that. And it's the moral of the first half, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the moral of the season, I think, so far, Jock. But yeah, look, I'll ask the exact same question of you, Shug. Craig Hart of This Parish comes in and he says it's a sitter. Do you think it was a sitter? Should Morelos be doing better here, or do you think it was just a good bit of defending from the Aberdeen player?
I'll probably balance it up. I'd say it was a good bit of defending. I mean, you want your striker to put that on target, which majority of our shots today weren't on target, and he did get it on target. And I mean, the chances of him running in there, he was beating the keeper all day. So I thought we were a bit unfortunate. I thought Morelos did well. One of the few times in the game he did actually do well. But again, as I'm sure we'll come to, it's probably about the only time I actually seen in between the post. So we're unlucky, but as Jock says, we've got to be taking chances.
100%, 100%. JB, the next sort of Rangers chance, and I think the most frustrating chance of the whole game. Again, I felt like I had steam coming out of my ears at this. I was that angry that it never went in. I've not even written about the chance. I've just penned into the paper, Sakala must score. I'm not actually sure who played the ball into him, but it was a very, very good ball. The first touch was fantastic to take it round the player, but Keller Roos comes out. I know Joe Lewis on the TV was giving him a bit of credit here, but for me, Sakala's got to score this. There's just, I don't know how he doesn't score it. He says he's a centre forward by trade. Either just lift it over the goalkeeper or put it slightly to the left or right. This was an absolute sitter, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we've said with I think Beale used the word last week, he's erratic. Do you know what I mean? And it was an erratic finish. It was very much almost the case of it just needed a wee bit of composure. It's almost with Fashion Sakala, if you give the kid too much time, you've got a problem. As soon as he takes more than 2 touches, it's just almost a case of you may as well just look away at times. His ability and his work ethic and his pace and his big stupid smile, it's almost a case of it's chances like that you just need to go bang, clinical, and that's the difference. I mean, the keeper's committed himself really early, so all he needs to do is just drop the shoulder, walk past them, and it's an empty net. It's as I say, it's 1-0. And I think Jock said earlier, as soon as the Aberdeen fans start to turn the back on them if they'd have gone 1-0 down in the first 10 minutes, and that's when we could have probably went on and really pushed on. But I say if you give these teams hope, then they're going to grab it with both hands, and that's what we've done going into the second half. But yeah, I thought Sakala again worked hard and showed a couple of little nice flicks. Say that header. He's definitely a threat and someone you want kicking around the squad. But as we go into next season, he can't be in the starting 11. He's somebody that you need to be utilising at the right time. But he's definitely not one we can certainly be building a team around next year. Definitely needs an upgrade, as does most of the positions, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Yeah, 100%. Jock, I'll ask a very similar question. I feel like every single time I'm doing a post-match reaction pod, we're either in love with Sakala, with the fact he scored 2 outrageous goals, had a good chance, good runs, whatever, or we're just like, how is this guy a professional footballer at times? Where do you stand in this, and how frustrated were you that Sakala just did not take a chance here?
It's Sakala's It's just, I think it's Sims all over. I call him the enigma because you don't know what you're going to get each game, and like you're going to get 3 or 4 different scenarios in the game, and he always just seems to pick the wrong option every time. And then it comes to his finishing again. There's a goal he scored against Dundee United. It's one of the best one-touch finishes you'll see. Takes the ball and the first touch in the mid bounce is ridiculous, and then the second touch is in the back of the net. He has the ability. He just needs to. I don't know. I don't know how you teach that to somebody. I honestly don't know. We need somebody in that, a striking coach that can just take him to the side and say, look, just calm down. He gets in the positions all the time. It's just the finishing, the composure. He some of the times you'll see him, he'll swing a foot at it, and it's so either it goes their direction, it goes up for a corner, or it's up the corner flag. He's just so frustrating, but he has an ability, and he keeps getting into the positions that we need him to get into. So, would you stick or twist? What do you do? His stats aren't too bad considered against other players in the squad, so he's justifying why he's getting picked. Week in, week out, he's still there and thereabouts, because we don't have anybody else really coming off the bench that's got the same stats as him or has that threat, because he's just got so much pace. But then his pace, half the time you see him, he runs with the head down, and he's trying to take on 3 different guys, and then he just runs into corridors and he gets blocked out, and then the ball, we're on a counter attack against us or something. So I honestly don't know. It's just another one of these games with him today, I'm afraid.
Yeah, he's my opinion on him very much now is that he's a perfect squad player, but just the situation that we're in at the moment, we can't afford to use him as that. I mean the stat always sticks out that he's got the most goal contribution since he's come in under Beale, but he's so frustrating. But as Dave MacArthur here says, there are too many empty jerseys in that team, and especially today, I certainly think we saw a bit of that. Shug, I'll come on to the sort of next point here with yourself. I've said Rangers. I felt about the 18-minute mark, Rangers were getting into some nice bits of play. You could start to see the combinations happening. I think Sky Sports brought up a stat round about this time that Aberdeen had like 12 successful passes to Rangers 130 odd passes. We were starting to build it up. I've put here Tilman had a lovely little flick to the ball, finds Sakala, but he blasts it over. So that was another chance. And then round about the 24-minute mark, had Tav Sakala to Morelos. Morelos had a nice wee ball to outside the box. He finds Tilman. Tilman found Borna, and Borna just sort of clipped the ball into the left-hand side of the post. That's just summed up. Nice bit of play, but just no real cutting edge. I mean, I don't know how many times we're going to say that we were not clinical or there was a lack of clinical finishing today, but I mean, that's for me, it's not the best of the chances, but I just think we should be doing a bit better with it.
Yeah, we should be doing better. It wasn't quite as bad as what Andy Walker made out. You'd have thought he'd hit the man in the rig in the North Sea. He did actually clip the post, so it wasn't a million miles away, but Borna, you'd almost put that back across the front of goal or something. Try to find somebody, but then is there going to be anybody there? There's a lack of somebody that wants to go and score goals. A lot of nice touches, a lot of nice play in that, but sometimes you just need somebody just to put the foot through it, and I think that's something we need to find. I like Cantwell. I like what he does, but he's another one that'll play in front of the defence and he'll run through beyond the defence. Mm-hmm. We've been crying out since Gerrard joined for that midfielder that's just going to strike it from 18, 20 yards and just get chances that way. I don't think we do it enough. I don't think we give chances for rebounds, little nicks and things like that. I think it's something we're lacking. Raskin's come in. I really like the look of Raskin, but again, he'll come on to his chance. But again, that was from getting beyond. It's not striking anything from 25 yards or anything. So I think it's something we need. Kent was missing today, so he's another one that's been here for years and doesn't strike that ball. So I think there's a lot we can do better. there's some nice stuff coming together, but still some fundamental stuff that we're lacking.
Yeah. I think Kent's been missing for a wee while, to be honest with you there, Shug. But yeah, I get your point. JB, again, I feel like I'm being too positive here, but I said it's just my notes as I'm writing down at the time. At 32 minutes, I actually felt like we were playing quite well at this point. I said the passing was going really well. We had a long move there. I think there was about maybe 20, 25 odd passes. And it turns out Sakala ends up playing Nico Raskin, which is just somewhere I was not expecting to see Raskin playing that far up forward. But it was more to highlight at this point. I felt Rangers were really getting a lot of success down that right hand side, in particular with Tav, but we just didn't seem to capitalise on it at all.
Yeah, I mean, the Raskin chance was a really nice move, and you could tell that would look like one from the training ground, and that little flick around the corner from Sakala. Raskin, I don't think he's going to be a goal-scoring midfielder for us. I think there's been a few now. He's had a couple of half chances, and he doesn't seem to. He's a bit of a jigsaw when he gets in the box, isn't he? In terms of falling to pieces, but I think he needs to. We need to get more players in the box. It's one of my little pet hates for a while. I thought we'd moved away from it in the last few weeks. But when you see Raskin breaking through, he's got no option but to go through and take the shot on. Thought the shot was quite mild. There was a potential square option, but I'd like to see us getting 2, 3, 4, 5 men in the box at any one time, and really showing that fitness and really showing that the strength and depth. But I feel as if at the moment it was just. I know we said it a few weeks ago, almost as if we need to go up a gear, and it's as if we can switch it off and on at times. And we did it in the first half. You've seen in the first half when we're at it, we're really good. And we've been seeing it for glimpses of, as you said there, we weren't actually doing too bad around midway through the first half. And this is the time when we've blown hearts away from home. We've blown hips away from home in that period. But if you don't take them type of chances, then again, I keep saying it, but you're leaving the chance for the back door to be open and teams to punish you. So yeah, but good movement. But Sakala probably did it better. That was probably his best 2 bits that he did do was the knockdown and that little flick around the corner. But again, a bit more composure from Raskin. But good to see a little bit of energy from the kid anyway. But he's definitely a welcome addition.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of the very few positives I think we could even take out of that game was the fact that hopefully that is a move that we'll all see integrated a bit more, because I do think we need that support and being a bit more clinical from midfield for sure. Look, I'll come to you here on the next point, Jock. Tilman, I've no idea what the hell he was doing in the middle of the pitch here. I don't know if he thought that somebody was a bit closer to him, but for me, this was criminal and very frustrating that he just let the ball roll across him without really checking who was behind him. And Ramadani, and by the way, this is 37 minutes at this point. I've no idea who him or Mayoski didn't get a booking, but he forces a good save out of McGregor, which is he's had little to do, but again, you've got to give him a bit of credit because it was a good save, I felt, at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's sort of McGregor all over, isn't it? He can pull them saves out, and he's done it over the years, plenty of times for us. In terms of Tilman, I don't know if it's part of his game. It's just something he does seem to do. He does like to use the momentum of the ball to beat players, so he must think, or he must check, or he must maybe your guys move just quicker, too quick for him, and then that's how he's lost the ball. But again, that's part of Tilman's game, is getting the ball in close to his feet and then rolling defenders where left, right, or playing the 1-2s and going. So this is the sort of risk you take, especially in that sort of dangerous area of the park. If you lose the ball there, you can set the other team up, and it proved to be the case. But thankfully, McGregor made the save.
Yeah, 100%. And Shug, up until that point, then it gets to half time. Other than Cantwell being booked, and again, the referee seemed to indicate that this was for persistent fouling, which was infuriated me at this point. But there's just nothing else happening. The only positive that I can take out of that is that up until this point, the only, well, even I suppose in the second half as well, that the only chances that Aberdeen were creating were from our mistakes.
Yeah, that's the thing that was worrying me most in the first half, was how sloppy we were at times, and unfortunately that's what's cost us goals in the second half. But Davies had a really loose one, Tav had a loose one, and then Tilman, as you're saying, just seemed to be, I don't know, it seemed to be like an end of season game. We were already in that mode, and we were like, oh, let's just try a couple of wee nice flicks and tricks here, and there was just a lack of desire, I think, to actually go and win it. And it's annoying because I know it's one of Aberdeen's 4 cup finals in a season. Yeah, and they're up for it, but our players just didn't seem to have that fight and hunger. They didn't want it. And that's one thing that should never be labelled at a professional sportsman, is that the other team want it more. Yeah, I think it'll be a good introduction for Cantwell and Raskin as their first trip to Aberdeen. They'll see how much this will hurt. It'll hurt the club, it'll hurt the fans. It's going to be a long week ahead. So, but they were 2 players that could come out of it saying that they actually did give their all. The other 9, not sure how many I could give pass marks to Suter.
Yeah,
we'll go into that.
Yes, it's hard to disagree. JB, unfortunately, the next action point in the game, 48 minutes, is where Rangers concede the first goal. Tav passes the ball to Morelos. Again, I'm not really sure what Morelos is doing here. He is watching the ball, and he just completely loses it. And then the Aberdeen defender steps in, and I think after the game post-match he claimed that he meant it, but this is just the wind's caught the ball here, and it's a flukiest goal you'll see all season. But again, there was a point in that goal Morelos should have been a bit more switched on, and if he ultimately takes that ball in, which we see him do to his arse to the opposition goal, and he takes it in, but he has to be doing better here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's someone said it before. It almost felt like an end of season game, as if there was nothing on the line. It felt as if and include Morelos in that. You could even tell towards the end when they were trying to wind him up, he was just kind of just shrugging the shoulders and just trying to almost bat it off. Don't get me wrong, we don't want him getting sent off, because that was kind of seen that one coming, to be fair, but he just didn't seem to be on it, didn't seem to wanting to do the physical side of it. And yeah, in regard to the goal, it was just ridiculous. That's one of them. He could do that 1,000 times. He wouldn't go in. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was a tough one to take. But even then, I felt as if, right, that'll be the wake-up call. That'll be that, right? That'll get us going now. That'll almost galvanise you, but it'll almost, that's when you start to see the spark, and you start to see your leaders step up. That's when I thought I'd start to see Tav and Barisic bombing on. I thought the 2 centre-halves might have stepped out with the ball a wee bit more, let Raskin go a little bit, but it was almost as if, we don't want to concede a second here, and it almost felt as if everything just kind of dropped off a bit. Cantwell was coming deep for a touch, and the front three just weren't involved and weren't offering anything. So yeah, really disappointing. The reaction was really disappointing to the goal, as opposed to the strike itself. You just take it on the chin and you go, right, let's go again. But no, the way we responded was really poor.
Yeah, 100%. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's just our reaction to that was I think what concerned me most out of today's performance, because I've seen it before. I mean, John Weir here says the amount of times we go behind or we lose the first goal is mental. It's short. I think again there was the stats was I think we got 24 points off of being or conceding the first goal. But it should never be like that. How many times we've conceded the first goal this season, I don't actually know, but I suspect it's well into double figures. Again, as JB said there, Jock, just that in my notes, I have nothing for the next 10 minutes written up until we concede again, to be honest with you. And it was just so disappointing. There was no reaction from anybody, I don't think. The front three just seemed so not lethargic, but that's the first time in a while that I've seen such a disjointed performances from the sort of front three, front four players. But this for me is just really, really, really poor defending. The ball comes into the back post and it's played sort of somewhere in between Ben Davies and Bona Barisic. For this, I feel that Barisic should have been tucking in here. I feel that he's lost Miovski here. It turns out it is a good header by Miovski, but there's a couple of things that it should have been defended better, and this was just awful defending from Barisic, I think, at this point.
Yeah, the ball in it's a quality ball in. It's in between the two, it's in between the full back and the centre back. So, you've got two options there. The centre back drops further and tries and makes an attempt to clear it, or you have your full back gets closer to the Aberdeen player and at least tries and challenges him, at least put him off. But Barisic did nothing, and he just comes off his shoulder and just nods. That's a good finish. If we'd scored that, I would say it's a great goal. That's as simple as that. It's a great ball in the box, and we've been putting plenty of balls in the box all season, and we haven't scored as many goals like that Aberdeen have. So it's one of those things. Like you say, the reaction from going down with the first goal is not great, and like you say up front, it just looks all disjointed. I think that's a key part of it. I think the heads kind of went a wee bit there, and they didn't sort of, as JB says, you think they would galvanise going a goal down. Right, okay, here we go. This is usually the wake up call that this Rangers team needs, but this going a goal down has been within this team now for at least 3 seasons, and you know what I mean. And it's the same team for the past 3 seasons. So this is what Beale's got to work with. He needs to try and iron this conceding the first goal out and be on the front foot and trying to score the first goal, because we can't constantly be going behind, because it just makes life so much more difficult, and it's just going to get the fans on your back, and it, especially away games, it gets the home team support up and running. It makes it an even more difficult atmosphere to try and combat against. So again, it's just a frustration part of this team is the conceding too many goals, and it's just hampering us.
Yeah, 100%. That's something I think we'll definitely come back to at the end of the podcast. But Shug, I just want to get your thoughts on that goal that we conceded in terms of the defence being really poor. But another point here, which I actually didn't read as far as this when I was getting to Jock, but I felt there was a definite foul in Sakala in the build-up to this goal about 40 seconds to a minute before. And the fact that JB and Jock are both nodding their heads as much as what they are makes me think that I seem to be right about this. What was your thoughts on it? Do you think that it was a foul on Sakala?
Yeah, I think it was a foul on Sakala, but it's Nick Walsh. It's Scottish referees. We can't be relying on them. It's not as if it's happened directly in the build-up to the goal. Like seconds before, we've had plenty of time to readjust and get back in things. I mean, the goal, for me, I don't know how much, I've not really watched it back that much, but crosses from the right-hand side, from our right back position against Celtic, against them today, seems to be more a danger spot than balls coming in from the left-hand side, from Bournemouth's side. And again, I'd like to be in the debrief and stuff like that, because I'm not sure if it's Davis or if it's Barisic. I don't know who should be doing what. I mean, they've only got one man in the box, so you'd think a centre-half would pick him up. But at the same time, Barisic has him right in front of him, so Barisic should be doing better as well. Whether it's a lack of communication, I'm not sure. But it'd be interesting to see where Michael Beale falls on who should have been doing better. I imagine it'll be both of them getting the blame.
Yeah, 100%. I see Joe 90 here's popped up, says it's a different phase of play. I totally agree with that, but I think if we get that foul in the first place, then we've got the ball back, and I don't think Aberdeen get the ball out wide. Were you going to step in there, JB?
No, I was just about to say the only thing that was relevant, it was a yellow card as well.
Yeah.
Forget it was not the goal. There was a couple of phases of play, to be fair, in terms of what chances down, but it would have been a yellow card. It was an absolute no-brainer. Do you know what I mean?
No, it wouldn't have been. You literally had to have a machete or something for the Aberdeen player to get a yellow card today.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous refereeing.
Yeah, it was just pointless. I mean, as I say, nothing to do with you can't. I'm not blaming the referees for the performance today, because the performance to a man was shocking.
Yeah.
I think what really summed it up and was Aberdeen only made one sub, I think, and we only made two, which goes to show the intensity of the game just wasn't there. It wasn't as if the Aberdeen players, I mean, as much as they were nearly sure then, as much as they were lying round and rolling around all the time. It wasn't as if it was a particularly physical game. It wasn't a as soon as we went 1-0 down, we should have pinned them back and said, right, you are not escaping out of your half. We shouldn't be discussing fashion Sakala getting fouled on the edge of our own box and being a booking and then starting off. It should almost be a case of we should be suffocating teams in their half. As soon as we go we shouldn't be going 1-0 down anyway, but if we do, it should almost be a case, right, that's it. We're going to up the game. But everything just felt very laboured. But I didn't see any of them Rangers players come off towards the end looking absolutely shattered. And for me, that's a minimum. I think you could probably argue Raskin, who's probably still not 100%, young lad going into that obviously that environment. But what are you thinking if you're a Rangers player on the bench there? I mean, looking at the bench and actually just looking at the list there and going, who would you bring on to try and change it? Because there wasn't many great options on there. But it was just no fight, and it's almost a case of it almost needs ripped apart. I think we know there's I mean, you use the word rebuild, but it almost just needs a massive culture change. It needs some horrible players in there that are going to literally drag us through. Again, not against Ben Davis. I'm sure we'll get to him later on in the show, but he's not intimidating no one, is he? Let's have it right. He seems like a really nice guy, and even in pre-match interviews, he just seemed very safe and very nice. And I want to see some horrible people in there. I want to see people leaving one on people if it needs to be done at the right time. And people who are going to say, right, let's get our arses on the halfway line. And if they catch us by getting in behind, then fair enough. Do you know what I mean? If they catch us on the break, but it almost felt as if, right, let's sit on the edge of the box, soak the pressure up. No, do it in their half, cause all the damage in their half, force mistakes out of them. But it was gone off on one a bit there, but I can't even remember what the question was. But yeah.
Should it been a foul in Sakala?
Yeah. But yeah, no, really poor and frustrating to say the least.
No, I think you're totally correct there. I think you've made loads of valid points. Like I said, I just want to finish sort of analysing the game, and we'll get into the sort of bigger picture stuff at the end. I'm purposely leaving quite a lot of time for that. Jock, the sort of next point here, 63 minutes was, and I found this a really odd substitution. I'd love to know what the thinking behind this was, but Raskin came off for Matondo. What the hell do you think was going on there? Why was this a sub?
I felt sorry for Matondo when I seen his wee face. I was like, oh no, he's been thrown into the deep end here to try and rescue this. And it's, of all people, it's been he's been a bit of a whipping boy for the fans over the past sort of 6 to 8 months because of performances and being out, being injured, and he's taken a lot of stick. And I thought, geez, this is not the best environment to be throwing him into and rescuing him, but also taking Raskin off. The only thing I can see is they're taking him off for next week. That's the only logical thing I can see. So I was like, if you're taking him off, you're thinking put Kamara on a like for like, but he's obviously take Raskin off. He's like, right, okay, we'll use pace Matondo. Matondo come on and actually did all right, I thought. Had a couple of, he created a couple of chances and he got in behind him, which is what we were trying to do. So when I came on, I felt sorry for him, but then he did all right. And let's say that Beale obviously thought taking Raskin off and just using just Lundstrom as the sitting deep and pushing on somebody else further up the park would try and help get us back into the game. It never materialised, obviously.
100%. And Callum sees here says bad days when relying on Matondo to do something, but looking at that bench, I don't know who else you bring on to do anything at this point. Look, Shug, I know that's basically 63 minutes that sub happened, but I think we'll sum it up for the rest of the game. To be honest with you, there was a few other chances here. There was a short corner that Tilman had to Tav, who fired it over. There was another But Tav had another effort where it was basically point blank. It was a good save by Keller Roos, but again, I felt that he should be doing better there. And a couple of Matondo chances as well. I actually thought he showed a wee bit of something when he came on, but yeah, I think I'll leave it at that for Adam Matondo. And then again, 88 minutes, Arfield come on for Sakala. Scott Arfield seemed to have been ready for about 10-15 minutes. Again, I just found this another very odd substitution to make round about this mark, given what Arfield done the last time against Aberdeen. Surely you should be chucking him on just because they know what he done the last time.
Yeah, I thought when Raskin coming off, I thought Arfield was the sub at that point. Yeah, I still don't know how Tilman managed to get through that game. I think Arfield should have been on long before him. And talking about next week's semi-final, I expect Arfield to start ahead of Tilman. But just when going back to the corner with Tav and Tilman, I did not understand the point in taking Tilman out of the box when 95% of the time we swing the ball in, and I feel that Tilman is actually a threat in the area. I understand when we do it with Kent, it brings a man out of the box and stuff like that, and Kent's not going to threaten in the area. He's more likely to threaten from a short corner, but Tilman, you've got to have him in the box. He's somebody with a bit of height and somebody with a bit of head in ability. He nearly got the goal near the end from the Barisic free kick. So that's just another thing that enrages me today. Probably one of the small things that enrage me, but it's just something that I think we've got our set piece coach, and I'd like to get his thoughts on why Tilman isn't in the box. But yeah, the substitutions. I mean, Michael Beale is far from blameless today. He's got a lot of reasons to come up with why we've got 5 substitutes and we only really use one. I'm not going to count Arfield because at that point the game's pretty much gone, although we did get 2 goals in injury time last time against them. I think the shape, Morelos seemed to be playing on the right until Matondo came on, and only at that point did he get moved to the centre. Yeah. Morelos has been pretty ineffective playing in his own position in centre. It's a central striker, so why we're playing him on the right, I don't know. Bill's got quite a few questions to answer, I think, from today. I think the press conference and the midweek and stuff before the semi-final will be interesting if he gets asked them questions.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we've not seen any of the post-match stuff. I think I've got some comments up on my phone, which we'll maybe allude to later on. But JB, let's just get straight into it in terms of looking at it as a whole. Picking in individual performances and stuff like that. I'll bring up this first comment here from Ian McPhee. Said, "Sorry guys, said it before. When it gets tough, Tilman is a man down. Davy, Sakala, Lundstrom not for me. Morelos really not interested." I'm kind of wanting to focus on that Tilman comment, because I really like Malik Tilman. I think it's like a seesaw. It's been this way the whole season. One week we should spend the 5 million on him. We shouldn't spend the 5 million on him. I'm now firmly back in the I don't think we should spend the 5 million on him camp, because in terms of, I suppose you could class this away to Pittodrie at the end of the season. It should be a big game for Rangers. This should be a game where we are looking to go in and well, as always, we're going away to Pittodrie. We should be looking to get the 3 points, but for me, it was a few flicks in there, but just some of the decisions he was making today were really, really poor. Where do you sit on Malik Tilman?
Yeah, as you said, Barry, I'm a massive fan of him. I think he's got all the ability in the world. We do forget his age at times because of the price tag that sits behind him. Do you know what I mean? If we had a young Scottish lad coming through with the ability that he's got, you probably cut him a wee bit more slack. There's a big question to be asked. I mean, in terms of whether we pay the big money. We can't afford to be paying 4 or 5 million for a player that does it against the bottom end of the SPL. Let's have it right. He hasn't turned up in any of the Champions League games other than the fantastic header. I know you might say, oh, well, he had a part in the PSV, but it was really poor defending before he squared it to Sholak. the USG header, and then into the group stages. Some of his performance in the group stages, albeit the whole team didn't play well, were absolutely scandalous. And then in terms of the games against them, he hasn't shown nothing. He genuinely looks a wee bit intimidated, a little bit. Everything's just moving too fast around him, almost as if it's or you don't get this in junior football, in under 21 football, which he's played a lot. Do I think he's a cracking player? Is he going to be a good player? Yes, he is. Is he what we need right now? Is he what we need next Sunday, which I know we'll get to? Definitely not. What we need next week is going to be his battlers. I can't remember the name of the person who brought that point up there in terms of the going through the players' performance, but there's just a lot of strange things I find with this Rangers team in terms of some of the decision making. Like John Lundstrom, we've managed to turn John Lundstrom into a really poor holding midfield player when he was signed as an offensive right-hand side box-to-box midfielder. If someone shows you a reel of John Lundstrom's highlights in a Rangers jersey, they're all going to be in and around the opposition box. They're all going to be pressing high, getting in faces, doing a lot of the dirty work in terms of chasing, and yet we've got him literally playing at times in a back three. So yeah, I think Beale can't. I mean, I think Beale's done a fantastic job given the circumstances he's been in. But he's definitely got some questions to answer. Certainly, as Shug touched on then, he might turn around and go, well, I never used my bench because I haven't got enough quality to bring on. But it got to a point with about 20 minutes to go where you've got to go, well, there's an eye on next week. If Todd Cantwell had got booked there, would he have been out of next week after it all being on a yellow? I mean, that would have been absolutely scandalous. We'd have gone into that situation. And it really doesn't say much about the guys on the bench. Yilmaz, I'm just looking at the list there. Yeah, Yilmaz, Hadji, Kamara, King, Lovelace, Rice. Obviously not a game for the kids to be throwing them in. But if you're Hadji, Yilmaz, Kamara, your time's up. Do you know what I mean? If you can't get on there at 2-0 against Aberdeen away, and the manager doesn't think you've got the fight, and he's going to leave players to run out 98 minutes ahead of a semi-final next week, then there's one eye on the door for them lot, because they're obviously not trusted.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with it a lot you've said there, GB, to be honest with you. There's quite a few comments coming in here on Tilman. Ali Quinn says Tilman's already paid his fee, I'm assuming alluding to the fact that he helped us get into the group stages of the Champions League. Callum C here with an interesting take as always. He says he only shines in games via the piss, which
today.
Say that again, Shug?
He did it today.
Well, that's it exactly. Just it's very difficult to disagree with this. Yeah, as and William Lang here says, Tilman's first season is a gamble buying him. It will be. We'll see. I said I'm glad I'm not at Rangers making these decisions, but yeah, it will be very, very interesting to see what we do going forward. Jock, the next question for you is really, really straightforward. Say we had a bigger squad, a more fit squad, have some players basically talked it or played their way out of starting next week in what is the biggest game of the season for us?
Yeah, I think so. I think this game, it couldn't have been a better game, really. Aberdeen away, big, especially for guys like Raskin and Cantwell, because I know Raskin was talking about it in the press and lead up to the game. This is a game you want to be playing a week before you play Celtic in the semi-final cup, because you're going to get a game whenever you play Aberdeen away. You always do, because like Shug says, it's their 4 cup finals of the season. They always turn up against us, and then they go and do something stupid and play poorly the next week because they don't need to worry about Rangers anymore. And then we've turned up and we've put in that performance. I think Beale's got a hell of a job on him to try and see how he's going to pick a team that he thinks is going to go out and put in a performance against Celtic, because the team that he picked at Parkhead, we were unlucky that day given the individual errors. Now he has to pick from probably the same players that made the individual errors. He's not done anything today to change that perspective on them. So aye, it's a mess. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, again, hard to disagree with what you said there. John Weir had a wee comment that I starred away at the back at the start. Shug, he said, we were outfought today and this team is a shambles. For me, that was the biggest concern today, Shug, is that we just didn't seem to react, as JB touched on. We just never seemed to do anything or change to go on a goal down, which I don't know. I mean, do you disagree with what John Weir said in terms of we were outfought today, and that's the most disappointing thing, that Aberdeen seemed to want it more in that second half?
Not in the slightest. Something I said earlier, it's one of the biggest insults for a professional sports person to actually have that labelled at them, that the other team wanted it more and things like that. It shouldn't happen. You know, when that Rangers shirt, you should be given 100% every single week to make sure you win. Yeah. And when things aren't going right, it becomes even more important. Yeah. I mean, you've seen them flying into tackles and try to rile up the crowd and everything, and you saw what it meant to them. Whereas we were just like, well, just another game. There's no real drive, no real determination. There wasn't real urgency about our performance. Apart from Morelos having a go at Pollock, I didn't really see anybody else having a pop or putting a boot in or anything. I know you can't put a boot in, you can't get away with it nowadays, but it's almost as if they were assigned to it and saying, well, I'm just going to look after myself, make sure I'm fit for next weekend because this game doesn't matter. And in a Rangers shot, there's never a game that doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's it, 100%. And look, JB, I'll just ask you this wee question here. I've managed to get a wee quote from what Beale said post-match. It's just a wee snippet. I don't know what the whole thing he said. He said, Aberdeen pressed as well. The performance was in our hands. We were very wasteful in the final third on a day where we come up against a hugely committed team with a buoyant support. It stings. I thought we played well, but it's about the penalty boxes and we didn't execute there. How do you react to what the manager said post-match?
Yeah, I mean, we did have enough chances to win the game. Let's have it right. We've got to be more clinical. But that, as someone said earlier, that's been the story for the last 2 seasons. As much as we don't want to keep bouncing back to the 55 season, we were clinical. That was it. Do you know what I mean? But the last 2 seasons are the chances that we created against most teams, most weeks. We're into double figures in terms of attempts on goal. And then the ones that I think it was Jock said, the ones that we do get on target, they're so tame. It's almost a case of it. There's no killer edge. There's no one there that's hungry to score goals. And I include the guys that were missing today. So you likes of your Ryan Jacks, your Ryan Kents. The only one who does genuinely enjoy scoring goals is probably Shola. He's probably the one who genuinely doesn't offer a lot, but knows where the back of the net is. And we're obviously seeing why he's never pushed on in his career. There's obviously these calf issues. He's unable to shake them off. But for me, we've got when our back four are low on confidence, then that's when we get deeper and deeper and deeper. Our back four was pinned back. It's all right, Beale saying, yeah, their intensity was good. We allowed it because we made it a bigger pitch. We made our back four sit on the edge of the box. So every time our back four had it, who was confidence is shot to death. It's almost a case of they're trying to find Cantwell in the midfield, Raskin in the midfield, Lundstrom, and they're just getting pressed. Whereas if we start getting our back four onto the halfway line and then they press us in their half, that's absolutely fine. But our back four just want to sit on the edge of the box. McGregor hasn't made a save in I don't know how long, where you go, you know what, that's a really good save. He's making saves at the moment that you'd expect a goalkeeper to make. But I can't remember the last time he made a save where you go, wow, what a save. Do you know what I mean? And I know it's not going to be there going into next year, but it almost the core of the team needs to be refreshed, and it needs energy. But Beale's got to take responsibility in terms of getting us to be that, playing that aggressive style, because the players are there. The players have proved that they can go on and win and runs. Do you know what I mean? That's obviously two really sore defeats in the space of a few weeks. But out with that, I thought we turned the corner in terms of that resilience and that outworking teams. But today just felt as if it was one eye on next week, some of the players who aren't going to be there next year made it obvious that they weren't going to be there next year. And I think there was some players today who you've been on the fence about that you go, actually, no, I wouldn't bother me if I don't see it again. Which is sad because I think we all like to be positive, and when things are going, I think one thing about Rangers fans is we're realistic at times. Obviously, you get the odd rockets like you do in any support, but as a rule, I'd like to think we're quite level-headed with things, and we kind of go, if it's good, we know it's good, but if it's bad, it's bad. It's really bad, and that's what this is showing at the moment. So, but no, look forward to next week. We'll the emotions of being a Rangers fan. We'll sit here on the pod this time next week, and we'll all be smiling from ear to ear. I'm convinced.
Yeah. 100%. Fair play to you to being positive after that. I don't know how I'm feeling about next week now, but Jock, I mean, I think JB actually said it very well there in terms of there was. I mean, I'm certainly maybe on the fence about a few players, but that performance today has just kind of made me say, nah, you need to go. And by the comments coming in, like we've got William Lang here said Barisic and Davies need shipping out. Darren Alley said 7 of the starting 11 shouldn't be here next year if we want to win anything. And then we've got Joe 90 saying the reduxes of our fullbacks attacking. We're doing well. If they're under any sort of pressure, we're capitulating. So it's kind of a bit of everywhere in the pitch. What do you, I know I don't want to talk about the rebuild or next week or anything like that, but I mean, where did you feel the same today? Because I feel, especially in social media, like there is a bit of I'm just Barisic, I'm just done with him. Like there's too many times where he's just been too poor at the back, for example, and I said we've got Ridvan sitting on the bench. Where do you sit and on that?
The thing with Ridvan is you know, the one game we have seen him, you know, he get a ball chipped over the top of him, and there was a goal scored from it, and everybody was kicking up stink on social media about, oh, that's him. He's the same as Barisic, but he needs a chance. Barisic, you get, you know, he's been here long enough, and I think Barisic time to go, and I'm saying the sort of same with Tav as well. I think the back line's stale, and it needs changed up, and needs, you know, freshened up. Davies has come in, looked pretty solid. Wheels just starting to come off a wee bit here. Now with Suter coming in, Suter's come back in. I mean, Suter was slaughtered at the start. He was absolutely slaughtered when he first came in the first couple of games, especially with Livingston. I think it was Ibrox. He got absolute pelters. He seems to be steady enough as well. So I think the biggest thing is we need Goldson back and that centre back and sort of steady the ship a wee bit. And we need to look towards next season for a new number one as well. Then you move forward into the midfield. You know, I don't know what the crack with Jack's going to be now that he's injured again. You know, he's went away on international duty, picked up the knock, come back. He's now out for 4 weeks. If he wants to play for Rangers, he needs to ditch Scotland. And then Kamara is just, you know, Kamara's against a non-entity. You just don't see him. He hasn't. You know, he should have come on today, I think, for Raskin. That would have been the substitution I would have made. Just to see him try and gauge what kind of form he's in and how he's going to cope in that Rangers team, because he might be called upon. We haven't seen him for long enough, so you don't know how he's going to you know, gel into the team these games coming up, if he's needed. So I think there's the team that went out today missed opportunities, and I think it's probably cemented home to Beale and certainly a lot of Rangers fans. Changes needed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do after this. I said I was feeling quite upbeat a few weeks ago about how we were in our form and stuff like that, but it just seems to have all come crashing down in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to sort of ask you the same sort of question here. I'll start with you, Shug. William Lang's come in here and said if Goldson is back next week, who do you drop, Davies or Suter? For me, it's Davies to be dropped. I think we kind of touched on it was maybe one of the few positive things that we had was maybe I thought Suter was actually all right this game. I'll wait the comments on that one, but yeah, Ben Davies. I, for what it's worth, thought he was having a sort of reasonable season. But again, JB made a good point about him that he's not really intimidating anybody. But the guy just seems to have looked absolutely. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's playing this badly and he's not playing next to Connor Goldson, but he just looks absolutely short of confidence, and I don't really know where it's come from.
Yeah, I mean, if John Suter can play left centre back, then that's exactly who I would have. My worry with Ben Davies is he's not a kid. I mean, we've seen it. Well, I'm going way back now. When Davy Weir had Danny Wilson next to him and made Danny Wilson look like a world beater. Even Leon Kings could still have a big future, but when he was beside Goldson, he looked really good. Ben Davies is not a 20-year-old kid that should need his hand held. He should be, with his experience in the game and the level he's trained at. I was going to say played at, level he's trained at with Liverpool, and he played the Championship. He should be able to handle the SPFL, but he looks totally lost without Goldson there to direct him. I don't know where it's come from, because I was actually quite hopeful for a while that Goldson and Davies were going to be something we'd build on, but John Suter's come back from injury, played a couple of games, and looks like he's far outperforming him. So if Suter's fine to play left centre half, then I'll pair him with Goldson all day long.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. JB, again, I'll ask you the same question. I think we'll finish talking about Ben Davies, to be honest with you. But yeah, where do you stand on it all, and what the hell do you think's happened for him just to be so devoid of confidence, basically?
I think he's going to fall into the category. If the team play well, he plays well. But if the team aren't playing well, guys like him and Barisic, they're onto a hiding to nothing. Do you know what I mean? That I think because they're not. Sometimes players will get away with it if they've got that wee bit of physicality about them. So if you go, well, at least he's giving it his all. He's giving it a right good go. Them two aren't hurting no one. Do you know what I mean? If they need to, even with the son of them off, for God's sake, he should be battering through people with no regrets. But it is what it is. I mean, next week, and I'm sure we'll get into the chat in the week. Does he throw the three of them at it? Does he throw Suter, Goldson, and Davis at it? Because we're going to need to do something different. Let's have it right. We can't keep expecting to be doing the things that we're doing against them and expecting it to work. We've only had probably 2, maybe 3 decent performances against them in the last 2 years. So why keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome? Do you know what I mean? So is he going to need to be brave next week? Don't get me wrong. You'll be damned if you do, damned if you don't. But are we going to need to do something drastic next week? Reading the comments there about obviously Raskin got an ankle knock, which I didn't pick up in the post match. If he's out next week you've got to start looking to put John Suter into the midfield. You're going to be in them realms of, we can't go into an Old Firm with Kamara and Lundstrom as your two holding midfielders. So I'd much rather go in with a back three and get it really compact and solid, and then look to beat them physically. Because we're not going to beat them for pressing and work rate, because that's how they make that's their bread and butter. Do you know what I mean? As much as it hurts us to say, they work harder than us. And the only time that we have is that semi-final last year at Hampden, when we genuinely worked harder than them. Lundstrom was on it. Jock was on it. The front line worked hard. Kemar Roof was hustling and bustling. The fullbacks were getting up and down. But that team seems like a million years ago. So yeah, I think he's going to have to do something quite drastic next week, and it might be the back three. You might say it's a gamble, but we're in gambling season now.
That's it. And Jock, I'll give you the final word on the sort of Ben Davies debate scene. Is that I know there's a lot of discussion around him at the minute. Where do you stand on it all, and what would you be doing with looking to next week, I suppose?
Suter hasn't put a foot wrong since he came in. You know, bar the back pass. Everything in our games, he seems he's done all right. Like GBC says, the back three, I'd probably be more inclined to try that. I really would. I'd go back three, and just see how it goes. We may as well try something. We'll try something different.
That's it. I think you've just summed it all up quite nicely there, and just we'll just see what exactly. We'll see how it goes. Look, I mean, I think we'll wrap up there. I think we've done well to discuss that absolutely shambolic performance for an hour. To be honest with you, there's a lot to be said. I mean, it's the one thing you come on and expect as a Rangers as a Rangers supporter, and that's a performance, that's effort, and that's a desire against the opposition to want it more than what they do. And today, Rangers simply didn't do that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if their minds are on next week. I mean, don't get me wrong, Aberdeen have been in a fantastic run of form, but we shouldn't be going up to Pittodrie and losing in that manner, especially given that we had what I felt was an all right first half, bar scoring goals. But look, it's very much all eyes on next week. Looking ahead to the semi-final at Hampden. Jock, just want to say thanks for coming on today and discussing that shit show of a performance.
Aye, thanks for having me. Thanks for being a part of the Great Boys. It was difficult.
Yeah, you're not joking. And thanks for coming on, Shug.
Yeah, wasn't a pleasure.
Yeah, totally agree. And likewise to you, JB.
No, cheers. No, thanks for having us. Speak to you.
Right, so the next podcast will be on, that'll be Craig at Monday. I'm assuming that's 6:30 at the normal time. Then it'll be myself on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We normally do a wee special pod on the Friday if there's the appetite for it, given that if we are in an Old Firm game, and then we'll have all the usual post-match stuff after it as well. But listen, that was a tough one. Thanks to everybody for watching it, and fair play to everybody for sticking in with that game today. Thank you.